Hello, hello, hello. 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 Going to be starting here soon. Hello. Going to be starting here soon. Going to be starting here soon. Just working on some things. Just working on some, getting it ready for y'all. Maybe we get started here soon. Okay. Get started here soon. You are in. Steph. How you doing?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good. Listeners, it's another episode. Welcome to another installment of Geekly Reveal. It's that show where we bring you all the goodness from last week in the nerdy and pop culture space. As always, it's me, it's your host Dom, aka Brother Dom, all over the internet. And once again, I am joined by the leanest, the meanest, the cleanest co-host. Would you like to tell people who you are?
Hello. Like I said, it's I, Stephanie. I'm Captain Steph on Twitter. I'm Hello Steph on Instagram. I have various other identities elsewhere in the world. And it's fucking hot. That's just my take for today. How are you?
That's true. It is quite hot, I must say. I'm struggling in this heat because I love the heat, but it's such a specific kind of heat that it's just killing me. Like, it's really draining me.
Yeah, like today I just had this like feeling like I literally like sat down at my desk today and thought like, please God, let it be sweater weather soon. Like, I'm so tired. Like, I had to run an errand today twice, the same errand, because I'm in a wedding this weekend, and I have to pick up I had to pick up my bridesmaid's dress from the people who were fitting it, and like, I completely commend their attention to detail. Like, I thought that I was gonna like have them like try it on for them. They would pin it a few places, they would take it in, I would come back and get it, and that would be the end of that. That happened actually 3 times, with the last time being yesterday, and they said, come back today at lunchtime, and we'll have it ready for you. So I went today at lunchtime, and they wanted to make one more tweak. So I had to go back again after work, and it's, like, not a long walk from the subway station to there, but long enough that every time I showed up there, I was just, like, uncomfortably sweaty, and I feel like I smell like I went to the gym today, but I did nothing to deserve that smell. I just walked down the street in the weather.
That's a specific smell. I'll give you credit for that. It's a bad time, I have to admit. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just don't like being as sweaty as I've been. It's not been fun. I'm ready for hoodie weather. I'm wearing a hoodie now, actually. We have a level.
So do y'all have AC in your house?
A level of it, yes. So I'm not dying right now, but it's I've been cooler before. I'm mostly wearing a hoodie so that I can use my desk. There's like an edge, like the edge of my desk is easier to use if I'm wearing a hoodie. So there's that. Just so people know, we're doing this live. It's sort of a radio program, so put us on in the background. Kind of just go do whatever you want to do. Just have some fun somewhere else. Just have us on and listen. But you can use YouTube chat if you want to come chat with us, say some stuff. You can definitely use a sidebar. We can moderate it so it won't get out of control like you might be afraid that some communities are. So we will moderate our chat, but feel free to say hi.
Yeah, we're not about that kind of nonsense on the internet.
Yeah, we're just gonna have a good time. Just having good times here. In the interest of a good time, we should talk about some pop culture, some nerdy stuff that's happened this week. What do we got on the schedule today, Steph?
Well, a surprise contender for top news of the week was yesterday. Or, what day is it?
Today's Wednesday the 5th, yes.
So I actually don't know when the episode aired. I think it was on Monday.
Yeah.
But Adventure Time came to an end.
That's true.
It sure did.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace. It really had a solid run. And, like, there are plot things that, like, we may or may not have liked. For one thing, like, I know, Dom, you and I both had some feelings about the way they treated Finn not having an arm. And then it growing back.
Yeah, kind of playing with the payoff and setup there in a way that it didn't even feel gross. It just felt like, okay, guys, what are we doing here? But also possibly gross if you look at it from a disability study standpoint.
Yeah. But it's been like a solid, like, besides like it's some issues, like it's been a solidly enjoyable show for a long time. And I don't know that it's necessarily, it was, I think, 9 full seasons, but I don't know that it was on for 9 years. I feel like it was been on for longer than that because the seasons were not yearly.
I think it was about 9 years. I want to say 2008, maybe 2010.
Okay.
I think the pilot was 2007. So yeah, it's
Okay,
not.
so maybe that tracks.
Yes, and I think one of the seasons was like those movies, like the Marceline stuff, kind of does a season.
Oh yeah. And they did the Stakes miniseries as like
That's what I mean.
an
Yeah.
event, like a Steven Baum kind of thing.
Oh yeah, good old Steven Bombs. So the finale.
That show.
You have some feels. I'm guessing some feels you want to share with us.
Yeah. So back in like December, I had like made an effort to get caught up on a couple of the shows that I hadn't watched in a while, and Adventure Time was one of them. Actually, the first one I got caught up on because it's easy to get caught up on Adventure Time because episodes are only 11 minutes. So I had caught up in December, and because I knew that the show was ending too, so like once I was caught up, I'd be caught up forever. So caught up in December, and then like didn't do anything for like now 8 months, and hadn't like tried to watch or like sought out any of the episodes that had aired since then. And then Twitter exploded on Monday because the finale of the show dropped. It was a 45-minute episode.
Heard it was good.
It was quite good. Had kind of all those things that make Adventure Time. Like just kind of like the power of hope and music that is beautiful but never quite makes a lot of sense, and like just like the character bonds that like between all the different people that we love. But the thing that Twitter obviously was exploding about was that Princess Bubblegum and Marceline kissed.
Ooh.
Yeah. Confirming what they have been like kind of dancing around.
That's one
for
way to
almost
put
a
it.
decade.
Just about that length, you know.
And so that actually was my impetus to catch up. I was like, holy shit, I need to see this happen. Like, because I watched the clip of them like reuniting on the battlefield and like and smooching, and then was like, oh god, I have to catch up on the show. So I went and watched all of the episodes up till then on the internet, and then I couldn't find the finale because it had just aired, so it wasn't on Comcast, like it wasn't on any of the streaming sites, it wasn't on any of the like pirating sites. I was just like, fuck it, I'll find it in the morning. So I found it the next morning and watched it on my way to work, and it was good. It was really good.
It's one of the the show has that's a good addition to the ending without even that's talking high praises of it without even mentioning any real plot points. I plan to catch up sometime too. I'm trying to take a more lax approach to spoilers recently, but I wouldn't want it to. I wouldn't want the end spoiled without the whole journey. That feels like a pointless thing, but seems like there's been a lot of, I don't know how to put it, just interesting discussion around the legacy that Adventure Time has had. Like, it's meant a lot to a lot of people in a lot of ways. We don't have most of our modern animation, I think, without Adventure Time in one form or another.
I agree. But like between the style and the more like surrealist humor and like the emphasis on just like simple friendships and that kind of thing, like
yes. And I think actually Adam Muto, I believe is his name, an artist that's worked on the show, put out
executive producer.
Perfect. Yeah, I need to catch up on so much of this stuff, but I saw just a quote from an article Polygon did with an interview of him, and he was refuting that whole idea of that there's a Cal Arts style, and he was basically saying, yo, I don't think he said it this way, but he was like, yo dog, we need to make expressive people on the cheap quickly, and this is a way to do it. Like, every artist who is being criticized for their style could probably draw something far more detailed and complex, but if you want a show to come out once a week for any stretch of time with any stretch of depth, the animation has to be on the relatively simple side. Well,
it's like people who would be like shitty about the style of Homestuck. It's like Andrew Hussey can draw worth a damn. Like, you like if you see like some of the like more painterly like shots from the animations or like certain other scenes, like they're like really like intense and beautiful, but like the sprite style was the style that he wanted to tell a story in, like. And
Even
there are
then,
definitely moments, but like touching that back to Adventure Time, there are definitely like episodes where they, like, there's an episode that's done in like 3D animation, and I'm pretty sure there was a claymation one along the way somewhere.
yeah, there's like a claymation one, a 3D-ish one, like low poly, and then a Minecraft one apparently.
Yeah, there was a Minecraft one right after. It was the one right before the finale.
Oh wow, yeah, get all kinds of different crowds in. But I mean, you can even see that it had detail just from the first time. I think, well, the first time Billy shows up, but the first time the Lich King shows up, who is damn near in a different art style, you're like, oh, they can put detail in there. And it almost seems like they skimped on the detail, so when there was some, you know it was serious business.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's not a doubt. I mean, especially with some of the backgrounds, there's so much detail involved that it's just the characters that are simple because, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Like, the treehouse is detailed. But you don't want to have a lot of detail on somebody like Finn, who's going to be making, like, the facial expressions.
Like and...
Yeah, the faces he made are all like almost meme worthy themselves. They're like iconic,
like,
might be a stretch,
expressive.
but yeah. So it's, you know, it's been a lot, and I want to say this is a reflection of people who grew up on cartoons finally got a chance to make them. But I don't think Pendleton Ward is our age, so I don't think he grew up on what we grew up on. I think the man just had some interesting interests, and also the foresight to have like Rebecca Sugar on the team.
Yeah, for real. Justin Roiland worked on Adventure Time too.
Was he Lemongrab?
Possibly, I wouldn't be surprised.
Because his yell, that's just the Morty yell. Like, it's, it's the Morty and Blendin scream is the it's. I think that probably was his. That was probably him. But no, the show had great long-lasting legacy.
Yeah, and I think like coming back to the bubbling thing.
Yes.
Like, I feel very complexly about it.
Go on. We have time. This is what this is all about.
This is us.
Reveal
this. Is our time.
Let's chat.
So I feel like like in previous years, the excuse has always been the cast of the show wants to make bubbling canon, but they can't because Cartoon Network. Which like 5 or 6 years ago, like pre-Legend of Korra even, like, hold some water. But like post-Legend of Korra, it starts to feel a little of a stretch, and on a network where Steven Universe just had a lesbian wedding, like, it begins to feel like a dodge. And so like there's definitely like it's two sides of an argument. Like, you could say like the same with like Korosami, like slipping it in at the end when like no one can say anything about it, and like you've already consumed the whole thing, like fuck you if you have a problem with it, like.
Right. So I'm wondering if it's I'm wondering if the issue the Cartoon Network quote unquote had wasn't so much you can't have lesbians, but more of you can't have this character be a lesbian for XYZ shitty reasons, you know? Just since I know they always like to tease the Finn bubblegum thing. And they're like, well...
Yeah, and I mean, like, that's been, I mean, like, in terms of that, the show has very much leaned away for that for several seasons, like, and had multiple other love interests.
Right. So I don't know if there was something, not that exact reason, but I wonder if there was something along those lines.
Like earlier on.
Because, I mean, yeah, on their own network, they have people, like, just good old gay rocks. So for them to say, well, we can't have a gay vampire, who was like, I feel like you could have made the case.
The majority of vampires are gay.
Dracula.
Like.
But I mean, yeah, you can make the case for Ruby and Sapphire and Rose Quartz maybe not being queer coded if you wanted to. You could make that stretch. But like Marceline, like that's a character that was, in my opinion, written to be like, no, this is a queer woman. If any stereotypes are remotely true, that was the one that I'm like, okay, they're leaning on this.
It's like she's got a side shave, she is like in a band, and like now she's her own, like she performs on her own, but like she plays the bass, like
Yeah,
weird relationship with her dad, like all of the fingers are pointing to being queer.
Yeah, so I don't know what they were waiting for. I haven't watched the show, and I don't know what the execs would say, or if it even matters. Let's keep it real. I don't know how much it matters, but it is interesting that it did take this long.
Yeah, and
but
so
it
like,
happened. So
yeah, definitely it happened. So like, I think there's also like, so that's like, you know, like I'm excited. I'm not gonna like sit here and be grumpy because it came in a way that like I didn't 100% feel not genuine about, but like in a way that I felt could have been better, I guess. Like, I mean, like it's a really like awesome scene. Like they're on the battlefield. Like Marshall's like, I thought I was gonna lose you, and like it's very like emotionally charged, I guess. And it is the only really romantic interaction of the finale, which is also cool.
Right. So I mean, I think in some people's opinion, which I'm not saying this is the right opinion, but I'm wondering if we're starting to get to the point where in some people's heads we don't need to make queer relationships visible from the beginning in the same way that we wouldn't with straight relationships, in the sense that a lot of times we'll have the will they won't they be resolved at the end, not be.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, I don't think we're at that point actually, but I'm wondering if some people think we might be, because it's like, well, Steven Universe has lesbians. It's not like we gotta be the first one to do it. What's the rush? Like, let's get the emotional payoff we want rather than the one that will be good for representation. But we're not at that point yet. I'm wondering.
Yeah, I think there's like I think there's an argument for both sides there, because I think like immediate representation is super important.
Yes.
So like having characters be queer on a screen right away is important.
Incredibly important.
But also, like, arguably, like the fourth season of The Legend of Korra is a love story between Korra and Asami. Like I did not ship them before the fourth season, and then going into the fourth season, I was like, holy shit! It feels like they're really like leading into this relationship. Like, oh my gosh! Like,
yeah. So kind of
so romantic, and so it kind of was like that like build that was exciting to be validated, like because like having like I said, like immediate representation is important, but also like showing that there can be like a will they won't they, like emotionally powerful love story.
Yeah.
It's a queer one is also important.
So I think the next step to really solidify that this is what we're doing is have somebody outright be queer before they get with the love interest, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's like, I feel like the right move is to like also like just to like say that confirm that someone is queer whether or not they're in a relationship with.
Yes. Like I think that was they did that with Pearl essentially in Steven Universe. Like she got that girl's number before we were like for sure canon that she had a thing for Rose. Let's call her Rose for now, I guess. But before they gave us that outright, yes, they were a thing. Even if they haven't yet, we're like, no, Pearl at least gets numbers from ladies. Like a lot of ladies, apparently, from that one episode, she has hella numbers. Where's that plot line? I don't care what's going on with Sadie and the killers. I want to know how Pearl has all these numbers just in her brain inventory. That's where I'm at. But no, so I think that's a way to put it. Like there's no denying that she got a number from a queer lady. So
yeah,
that's a fact at this point. So now it's more of a case of like Steven Universe has all those dynamics. Like I think they're building a nice will they won't they with Peridot and Lapis, but then they also have Ruby and Sapphire. Like that's a fact. Then Pearl's out playing the field. So there's no question are lesbians allowed to exist in this world. And I think that's a nice end state to be at. This is a normal thing, so there's no need to rush any relationship because this is what natural is. Versus like Bubbling, we're like, well, when the show started, them holding hands would have been like, oh shit, Cartoon Network allowed what? Versus now it's like, yeah, whatever, like this means a lot. but you've been beaten to the punch a few times.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I'm glad it's there. So
Yeah, like
coming from a
feel like-
non-woman, I think this is still a good thing. So not to poo-poo on anybody's good time.
yeah, I feel like we're all better off for it being in the world, but also like aside from like some people online, not to be the one who says, but what about the men's? But aside from some people online pointing out that if Bubbly is canon in the regular universe, then Gumball and Marshall Lee are canon in the Fiona-verse. Like they're still like, it's funny because it's exactly the opposite in like almost every other form of media, but there's not a lot of gay dudes on TV still. And I wonder if it's because queer women are seen as less threatening, like there's still that like stigma of like gay dudes being like predatory, I guess, like
Yeah, so there's
garbage and bullshit.
There's definitely an
but,
argument to be had there, yeah.
But like even, and like I say this as someone who firmly believes that like Keith and Shira are endgame for Voltron. Like it is very difficult for me as someone who went into it not shipping anything to see anything else making sense, especially since they killed off his fiance or whatever in this season.
Yeah, that's so great and progressive.
But the fact that we've had like Horasami, a lesbian wedding, I guess the two girls from Runaways are together now in the Runaway comics, like, and now Bubbly and canon, and plus probably a bunch of other shit because there's just so much of it. Like,
yeah. So
the fact that there's no queer men still in any of this is.
Yeah, so I saw some arguments about this, and they're like, they were saying, you know, don't shit on all these people that are happy to see all these women with women, saying what about the men? Like someone pointed out, like, oh hey, if women and women were so safe, like Rebecca Sugar wouldn't have had to fight to keep the couples in their show. I'm sorry, I was using the wrong pronouns before. I should be using their pronouns. I'm like, well, just because you have to fight tooth and nail for your idea doesn't mean that your idea wasn't safer than somebody else's. Like, I'm not saying Rebecca didn't fight their ass off to get these hard fights to get these characters in, but I do have to wonder how much harder would it have been to be like, hey, Greg is gonna kiss a dude, you know? And that's not the first thing I think of. Like, it's just more of a, oh hey, we've had the party, the confetti's settled, let's start thinking about other stuff. Yeah, now I'll think about it. Just kind of like after you've seen a movie, you start to think about, you know, how did the bombs fall that way in The Last Jedi? It doesn't matter. Like, that's not taken away from the movie to me, and it's not taking away from when Peridot and Lapis eventually fuse and kiss. Knock on wood, I'm hoping that happens. Wondering if there are any queer dudes in that universe isn't going to take away from my enjoyment from that at all. And I don't think it should take anybody's, but it is worth wondering why we haven't seen as many shades of it recently in Western animation. And I think it is, I don't know if it's even that dudes are seen as safer, but I think or that women are seen as safer. I just wonder if we're trying to write these dudes that we don't want to have the idea that they might be queer as part of their character, you know what I mean? Like a toxic masculinity thing. Because we don't even have like straight dudes who could be written as, like, we don't have the, I guess, hashtag effeminate guys anymore. It's weird we don't have that anymore. So I wonder if we're just trying to get away from that as like a queer phobic or a toxic society. I don't know, it worries me. I'd like to see it more. Maybe it'll be in the live action Sonic movie, who knows.
That was the last thing I would expect you to be like, maybe we'll see some like
I don't know,
representation in the Sonic movie. I don't know. So, who knows? Tales from Sonic might be gay.
I think you mean might be confirmed gay. Tails is gay.
Be confirmed gay.
Tails is a gay man. You don't hang out with a dude like Sonic and not like be gay. unless you're like, I don't know. I did a whole thing, like everyone tries to figure out which one of the characters in that franchise would be like what orientation. And some people are like, oh, everybody's gay. I'm like, nah. And like, nah, Sonic's a straight one. I'm like, I don't know about that either. Like, it's weird. I do know Sonic is an ally to all, so he's not a queerphobe, if nothing else. But maybe we'll see it in the movie. I mean, Jim Carrey's there as Robotnik. Maybe he'll give a nice voice, and Sonic will be like, hey, hating on the gays is no good. I'm gonna reference Sonic in every podcast I ever do, probably.
Okay.
What's
I would expect nothing less. That's
what?
like, I'm like really annoyed. I just finished reading a book, which I won't call out because it's YA book, and I feel like that's, even if there's no one listening to this, I feel like that's a way to
cause some problems.
But I was very frustrated with the book I just finished because in the second book in the series, like it was a duology, in the second book of the series, they introduced a character, they outed a character as gay who was not ever really coded as gay in the previous book, or like it was never suggested that he had any sort of like feelings for his male best friend. And then he was in this book, and like his male best friend, who is the love interest of the heroine, and therefore clearly could not get with him, never finds out. The guy that they introduced that seems like is going to be like the consolation guy for this character.
That's such a funny way
killed.
to say it.
And then the only acknowledgement for the rest of the book that he's gay is that someone's like his sister's like, yeah, he's always been really in love with your love interest, to the main girl, and she's like, oh shit. She doesn't do anything about it. No one does anything about it. This boy dies alone. He doesn't actually die in the book, but like the implication is that he is going to.
That sucks.
And it feels like this book came out in 2018. Like we're still doing this shit. Like,
hey, I mean,
this isn't like representation that means something to anyone queer. Like this is more like queer people are sad and will die alone because the people that they love can't love them back because of their gender. Like,
that's dumb. I don't like that. Like, it's a cop out too. Like, I hate cop out things.
Yeah, like I have no problem with like that trope of like a consolation guy kind of thing. Like the Rick Riordan books, which, as you know, I love very dearly, the Percy Jackson books. My precious and most darling son, Nico D'Angelo, is gay, and he harbors a crush on Percy for like a lot of the books, and is like very tormented by it because like he was born in the 50s and like by like a magic quirk ended up in the modern day, and like has like a lot of built-in internalized homophobia and like all these other problems. Or he was born in the 40s, excuse me. But anyway.
Hey, even better and more progressive, right?
Yeah, right? Don't want like some like neckbeard nerd who's also a huge Rick Riordan fan, like come after me on the details.
I wanna meet the person who's like, hey, time to mansplain to you about like these like queer relationships.
Right,
just
like,
the idea of that is interesting to me. That's all. I'm fascinated.
It's like I'm very obsessed with these middle grade books that are objectively progressive, like, but also I want to yell at you about this detail you got wrong.
Fandom is a hell of a thing.
At the end of the second series, Nico realizes that Percy is never going to be interested in him, but he finally comes out to him and says, like, sorry, I've been so weird to you all these years. I've had a crush on you. Like, I know you're not interested, but I just wanted to tell you and get it off my chest. And then he goes off into the battle, and, like, during the battle runs into, like, some, like, dashing son of Apollo, and who's like, like immediately flirts with him, and it's like, cool, so this is gonna be Nico's boy. Like that's fine. Like, finding a healthy relationship after getting over a straight crush is fine. Dying texturally alone because you are the only gay character who survived the series is not as fun.
That's not as fun. Well, you know, that's why we have to look to Adventure Time, where the people survive a literal apocalypse and then get together. So
exactly, and the the implication is that Marceline and Bubblegum are immortal. So they're like, you know, they're bulletproof lesbians.
That's okay. Well, that's kind of a sad ending. Nobody wants to live forever. That sucks. That's
like,
terrifying.
They're not like it doesn't change that they're gonna live forever. Like, they're not like cursed with immortality in the episode. Like, they're just both like an immortal vampire. And I mean, like, I guess Marceline ages slowly. Like, she still ages. She's just very slowly, but like, because she was a baby 1,000 years ago.
Yeah,
not a baby, like a child.
She was a child right at the end. Like the mushroom war created her, right? Like vampires and stuff. Okay.
Yeah, but like, it's gonna be a long ass time before she croaks.
Naturally, yeah.
Age. Yeah, and like Bubblegum is candy. Like, there's no reason why she should also ever die.
That's good. That's a very sweet relationship.
Hey.
You like that? You like that? What else we got on the docket? We had some other news. I don't want to talk about this too much, lest we look like we're one-dimensional.
Don't you mean two-dimensional? Because we're talking about cartoons.
Yeah, there it is. You got me. You got me. That's fair. I like that. That's fair.
Well, another thing that happened this week is actually happened today. Is that the first Entertainment Weekly exclusive photos from the Captain Marvel movie dropped.
Cool. That's
have you seen these?
Cool, right? I did. I was not as excited as I thought I would be.
Yeah, I'm kind of overwhelmed by them. Or underwhelmed.
Yes. I think I'm overdone with like comic book stuff has burnt me out. Like, I still haven't seen Infinity War. And like...
Don't.
Well,
honestly.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, I kind of want to know what happens, but I'm like, people are saying it's depressing, and people aren't like. I'm not seeing think pieces for or against the movie. That's a sign. Like, when Last Jedi came out, you couldn't stumble. Well, even now, you can't stumble without finding something saying why it ruined the franchise or why it's actually the best movie so far. Like, people had something to say.
No one wants to talk about Infinity War. They're just upset, whether they were upset because a bunch of characters they like died, or were they upset because it was a shitty movie. Like,
yeah, the takes I've seen
no one's happy about Infinity War. Yeah,
I've seen people say, let's discuss what a certain character, I guess it was Star-Lord, I'm assuming, let's discuss his decision, or let's discuss why Thanos is or isn't as good of a villain as you think. And then Movies with Mikey from Filmjoy talked about like why this was just like an oppressively depressing movie and why some of the decisions weren't so great. Kind of how it frames like abuse and love and stuff, sort of like that. And I'm like, but this is even he's not saying the movie was bad or good. He's just like, it's a lot, and there's just so much superhero stuff that I'm like, I could take a 2-year break. Like, Ant-Man came out, no one even talked about it being good or pointless, other than movie reviewers, and I'm like, these movies are making money, but are we just compelled at this point? Like, are we just seeing this stuff out of obligation? And so Captain Marvel comes along, and I'm like, cool, like, first Marvel female-led movie, and it's like, well, I hope it does well. Like, that was my emotion.
Yeah, like, I don't know, like, I love Captain Marvel as a character. I am kind of burnt out on her. Like, I don't subscribe to her comics anymore because it just, like, the stories weren't as compelling anymore, and I felt like that other superhero comics were doing more interesting things. And also, like, she's like she can be a very white feminist character.
Ooh, my favorite.
Yeah. But like, I mean, like the suit looks cool. I wasn't like super sold on her expression on the cover of Entertainment Weekly. Like, it didn't quite look as like intense, I guess, as it could have. And like, there are some things that are cool in the pictures that came out. Like, there's the one picture that has the director in it. It's the first female writer-director of a Marvel movie. Like,
also,
Nick Fury without his eye patch. Like,
yeah, let's not even overlook the fact that we have to keep saying the first female-led Marvel thing. Like,
yeah,
DC has already beat them to it, and DC was late to the whole party. Honestly, like, this was so long.
Yeah,
so
seriously.
Kind of like,
and like the whatchamacallit, the I feel like the biggest exciting thing, because I don't know if I have just not been following the news about the movie from the pictures, was the Maria Rambeau.
Yes.
Being in it. So I didn't realize that any Rambeau was going to be in it, and that's exciting to me because her daughter Monica Rambeau is one of the Captain Marvels in comics lore. Like, she led the Avengers for a while. Like, her superpower is that she can transform into anything on the spectrum, like on like the frequency spectrum. So like, she can become a sound wave or like a light wave or like X-rays or radiation or whatever. Like, she can phase through that. And her current code name, it's been a lot of things. I don't know if it's Spectrum or Photon right now, but like, she's had a lot of code names. But one of her code names is Photon, I'm pretty sure, and that's her mom's like call sign on her airplane in the picture.
Okay.
So that's cool.
But yeah, so I mean, that's exciting. That's what I saw the most like buzz about on like my Twitter circle. But I hope it's not a situation kind of like how Miles Morales' uncle was in Spider-Man Homecoming. Like, oh, hey, isn't this a neat little thing for the fans? It's like, yeah, it is, for a certain reason. So, like, I hope you deliver on that, or else that was kind of pointless.
Yeah.
But yeah, the costume looks cool. The screenshots looked cool. I think it's just sort of give us some time to want the stuff. We're in a gluttony of riches right now.
Yeah, and I just like trying to think. Like, I feel like I'm more excited for, like, with the Monica Rambeau stuff, like, I'm a little of mixed feeling because if her mom was a pilot with Carol in the 90s, then Monica's character can't be older than like you and me in the modern Marvel era.
Is that old enough?
Which I mean, like, she would be like 28, but also like I don't know when she got her powers in the 616 universe, but Monica has like kind of like a anti-vibe, I guess, in the comics, like as like she's an older woman who's like been through some shit, but is also like still looks great because like black don't crack.
For sure, that's a fact.
But
everybody knows that.
But like she's like in her 40s or 50s I'd say in the comics. So like having her younger feels like, one, like the kind of jadedness of her character won't be there. Because I was introduced to her in a collection called Next Wave Agents of Hate, which is like a standalone series about a bunch of like knockoff heroes, not knockoff, but like D-list heroes, like fighting a bunch of really stupid shit, and it's really hilarious.
That does sound fun.
They're so it's Monica Rambeau and then like a robot and a vampire hunter lady who can't stop cursing. Her name's Elsa Bloodstone, I think. Like, and a couple other people. And it's really funny. But like one of like Monica's like repeated gags in that comic is like that kind of like I'm too old for this shit. Like, hey, you know, son, I used to be in charge of the Avengers. Like,
oh, that kind of stuff. Okay. See, that stuff doesn't work quite as well if you're like some young whippersnapper.
You're like 30, yeah. And it also feels like Marvel like avoiding putting older women in its movies again, like especially since like they cast like a 25-year-old as Captain Marvel, and she's also supposed to be in her 40s.
Yeah, okay. So that's kind of where they're screwing up, is that Captain Marvel's too young. Like, were they pilots in the 90s? Like, does that still play, or?
I mean, like, I think that plays. But, like, okay. I mean, like, and also, like, Captain Marvel's been around since, like, the 60s or 70s, like, as Miss Marvel. So, like, it would be especially weird for them to move her timeline back this far, or that far. But, like...
Hey, maybe there'll be legacy characters. Who knows?
But yeah,
that'd be a cool thing if the Captain Marvel in this movie was like the second one or something, and then they still give us like the older one. Like who's been the oldest woman in a Marvel movie? Like the leader of Nova Corps, back in Guardians 1?
Probably. Yeah, that or yeah, that was Glenn Close, and Michelle Pfeiffer is in the second Ant-Man movie as the original Wasp.
Okay.
And she is also like older than Hollywood norm. So one of those two.
That would require you watching an Ant-Man movie, so that almost doesn't count.
That's a struggle.
Yeah, meanwhile, Suicide Squad has an older black woman in their movie, so you know, Oscar-winning Suicide Squad. So there's that. That's great. Well, they looked nice. Any other big things we want to talk about? Any other big nerdy things?
I don't know.
I guess pop culture. Nike decided to have Kaepernick as their 30th anniversary spokesman kind of thing.
Yeah, that's
pop culture. I mean, it's sports, but it's pop culture.
That's delicious to me.
It's I've heard different people talking about it where it's like, hey, you know, big old capitalist company just trying to get the social justice money. You're acting like that's not the case, you're wrong. But that said, it is nice for a big old company to say, hey, you know, we crunched these numbers, it ain't worth appeasing the racists. Which is something Twitter could do also, if they chose to, but they're like, oh, our money.
The bare fucking minimum. Like, yeah, I'd rather support like a fucking giant corporation that does appeal to my values rather than one that does not. Like, yeah, like I know that Nike is and has been a shitty corporation in the past, but if they're going to use their platform, which is enormous, to say something worthwhile, I'm not going to shit on them for it. Like,
it's what I've seen, and people always will point out because it's true. There's no ethical consumption under capitalism, right? We're using stuff like, I don't know what we're discussing this on, where this microphone and these monitors were made at, but I'm gonna guess it probably wasn't somewhere with a nice stable union where they treated the employees correctly. Maybe I'm wrong. Hope I'm wrong, but I don't think the odds are in my favor on that one. That doesn't mean I agree with how these things were produced, but we can say, if we have the choice, if I can buy, I don't know, a $5 t-shirt made in a sweatshop versus a $5 t-shirt made by people who were treated nicely, but both these companies are making billions of dollars, I'm going to go with the one that's slightly more ethical, or the one that at least, if you have two t-shirts made in sweatshops and one of them's like, we think Nazis are good, and the other one's like, we don't think Nazis are good. Still supporting a $1 billion business, but I'd like to do the one that's like, we'll at least do the bare minimum.
Yeah, like, I feel like the people who are arguing against Nike, like, for that reason, are, like, the people, like, do you know the comic, like, the, that's, like, a serf saying, like, perhaps we should improve society somewhat, and, like, a know-it-all guy pops up out of a well and is like,
oh, you live in society.
But you participate in society. How interesting. Like, I feel like that's what's happening here. Like, they're the racists who are responding to Nike, and then there are the people who are like, you are an impure giant corporation, and so this is meaningless.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's everything is terrible, so we need to find the little wins we can. Man, cats are funny, and that's kind of our
by the way, listeners.
That's our whole thing against Twitter. They're like, well, you know, we need all these like bad people on our platform because it gives like a sense of community. The whole point is someone's did their numbers and said, hey, they drive a lot of our business. But we're like, yo, Twitter, you don't need to support these people. Like, you can crack down on them. There's nowhere really else to go. Like, so that's why a lot of us are starting to think like, yo, the Twitter people, they have done the math. They don't need the racist money, nor they don't necessarily want the racist money. They just agree with them.
Yeah, they literally must just agree with them because like Nike did the math and realized that their demographics that are paying them the money for their shoes and their gear and everything are not racist.
Yeah, like now Nike as an entity, as a concept, do I think they care about people of color? No, probably not particularly. That's not the way money works. I mean, some of the people might, some of the staff might, some of the builders might. I'm not going to sit there and condemn any of the people. I don't know them, but as a business, they're not saying, guys, it's the right thing to stand behind this guy. It's like, well, if they were doing it out of the kindness of their heart, they would have done it like 3 years ago when it could have probably benefited the guy a little bit more.
Yeah.
And what if maybe could have turned the tide on this conversation had they done something when this happened, but you know, it's whatever.
Yeah. I also just like cannot, going back to Twitter, like I cannot stand the argument that idiot rich white men keep making that they have, that like not deplatforming people is an issue of free speech. Like, no, you're a private fucking corporation. If they break your rules, you can make them go away forever.
Yeah.
You did it to Milo, and now he's gone for good. Now he just whines on Facebook on his own private Facebook because he doesn't have a platform to be an asshole and a Nazi anymore.
And he's totally legally allowed to go do that. He can go stand on the street and be like, yo, dog, brown people are bad. And we're like, well, that's not cool that you did that, and someone should do something about this. But yes, that is your right to do that. But like, if we as a platform say, hey, you can't be a racist on our platform, that's not...
And then you do.
That's not like a free speech issue, like...
Yeah, like there was so I get, because I work in publishing, I get like 90 publishing newsletters every day. One of them today was talking about morality clauses and author contracts, which basically isn't necessarily like a morality clause in terms of like objective morals, but like basically a clause in your contract that says if at some point during the like the work on this book, or like after it comes out, even if something comes to light that is inconsistent with who we thought you were when the book was signed up,
we can do something about it.
Cancel it. Yeah, we can do something about it. So like that doesn't necessarily mean like if you come out as a like and say something like horribly like anti-Semitic, that we'll dump you and do like, but we previously thought you're progressive, we'll dump you, like, but like it's inclusive of that. But it can also mean something like if we're publishing your book against abortion and it comes out that you paid for your mistress's abortion, we can also dump you. Like,
yeah, because you're talking both sides.
Yeah, because you're hurting your image with the base that we expect to make money from, basically. And these have always been in publishing contracts, or at least have been for a long time, but they became a topic of interest again when Milo lost his contract with Simon & Schuster for his book after he made those comments about pedophilia.
Yeah, because that's not great.
And but it came up today in this newsletter, just like revisiting like this concept, and it was like there was some like fairly high up publishing guy was like, oh well, there's never quite as much excitement in house for publishing conservative books from the conservative side, but like we feel it's our responsibility to respect free speech and make sure voices from the left and the right are both heard. Like, you have a single fucking piece atom of responsibility to free speech. You are a private company operating on a profit, and if it's not profitable to publish books that are racist, you don't have some higher moral authority to do so.
And that's
a responsibility to do so.
I think that's why it's an excuse, actually. If we're keeping it 100 stuff, they're like, you know what? We have an obligation to do this. Like, no, you really don't, because like we've said. So really, what it comes down to is we think we can make some money on this. That's why you're doing it.
Yeah.
And
like, that's not way.
That's not a admirable position, but they know they can't just straight say that, so they try to dance around it. In which case, just don't say anything. If you feel the need to try to justify the bullshit you're doing because you think it's bad but you want that money, then why do you feel the need to justify it? Like, who are you helping with that? Other than the only thing you're doing, which makes me think you just believe these things, is all you're doing is furthering the talking point. Like,
yeah.
Like, you see that video? I think it was going around today, like where Alex Jones was just being a dickhead to Marco Rubio.
I didn't watch it because I despise both of them.
Yeah, so
didn't want to put myself through that.
So it makes you be like, okay, at least Marco Rubio decided to say something to Alex Jones. Like, maybe if he had done this to Trump, we wouldn't be where we're at today. I don't know, but Alex Jones is just like talking over both him and the reporter that's asking Rubio questions. And it's just like, this dude's an obnoxious piece of shit. Like, why is he even allowed to be here? And the one lady's like, what are you even going on about? He's like, they're trying to deplatform me, you know, we're blocked everywhere, like Infowars.com, like, you know what it is. And she's like, but you're here right now, you're talking. Like, he's like, yeah, we're trying to defend free speech. And like, she's like, but you're here, like, what do you mean? And some lady in the back was like, hey, don't give this man any screen time, he's an asshole. And he's like, see, these leftists want to deplatform you. And it's like,
that's her free speech.
I'm allowed to say I don't want you to do. And even then, like, deplatforming somebody's basically, it's not really the slippery slope people are trying to act like it is until we start. I get if people are getting taken off platforms for their beliefs, which I don't think it's a slippery slope to say Nazis are bad. People that aren't Nazis aren't as necessarily bad yet. We have to see what else they do. But like with Alex Jones being taken off of stuff, like, yo, I disagreed with him before I had a reason, but now we're saying, yo, Jack, Twitter, based on what you said we are and are not allowed to do, this man said some things that he's not allowed to say, so get him out of here. That's you who said the rules.
Yeah.
Even so,
we're
that's
expecting you to.
So yeah,
like, enforce them. Yeah.
So the fact that you're not like enforcing them is like, okay, that's where you're screwing up. There's no slippery slope to be had here. The slippery slope is, well, what it would really be is, well, if he's allowed to break the rules, who else is going to be allowed to break the rules? What rules are we going to be allowed to break? That's one way you could frame this that might actually go. But no, these are just like slippery slopes people are making up, like, for fun kind of stuff to agree with Nazism and racism and stuff like that.
Yeah.
These are people that will like burn their Nikes because
they've already fucking paid for it. Why? I mean, like, I know that conservatives have never had to protest anything before, like, but like, why are they so bad at it? Like, they threw their Keurigs out, and then they had to buy a new Keurig, because obviously they're gonna buy a new Keurig, like.
Yeah, so the people who, burning things I've always seen as like a symbology of like, that's not the boycott part, it's more of like a fuck you part. Like, people would always burn LeBron's jerseys every time he left Cleveland. And it's like, yo, dog, you know you're going to buy one if he comes back, but, like, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's not, like, boycotting
LeBron.
LeBron.
Starbucks. And then were like, and then, like, got their name written, like, Christ or something on it, like, to boycott Starbucks Godless Red Holiday Cups. Like,
because
you still paid for it. You gave them your money. So
I've started to notice people have an issue with symbols, right? So I was on some Facebook argument today because I don't value my time, apparently.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's...
The one guy said, you know what, like, I don't see why you should be mad at people who are... he basically said the flag has lost its meaning to a lot of people, which I agree with. You know, that's, you know, it's supposed to be a sign of, like, freedom and justice and all that, and it's waved over places where that's not the case. And some guy tried to say, you know, well, the flag hasn't lost its meaning, blah, 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 this and that, you know, blah, blah. My point that I end up hitting him with is, and somebody else had started this, is if you're worshiping something more than its values, you've started to worship the symbol, right? So people say the flag represents the troops and freedom and justice and whatnot. It's like, well, but these people don't vote for or support programs that would support veterans, right? Like, why do we have so many homeless veterans? Why do you feel the need that we live in a police state? Like, why do you love prisons so much, right? You respect the flag, but you don't respect what it goes for.
You no longer respect what it stands for, yeah.
And that points to the fact that, like, so many people got hung up on, like, well, he's disrespecting the flag. Like, do you know what he's protesting? It's at the wrong place at the wrong time. Like, yeah, but you're missing the meaning for the symbol. Like, the symbol was a man kneeled during a song being played, right? That's just an image. That image doesn't mean anything. The image could have been him standing, like, doing the Wakanda salute every time somebody scored a touchdown on either team, or it was just that's what he did, and he asked troops, like, what's the more respectful way to do this, but I want to draw attention, or maybe just be doing a thing. And I think that's what happens with a lot of people. They, like, they see the symbology of, like, see, I burn Nike stuff, like, that's me saying F you to them. That's what I take value in. Like, they see these red cups and they're like, that's what I'm seeing the value in, is this means something. You're like, no, it doesn't. Like, it doesn't mean anything. Like, they're sort of the opposite of when we're saying, yo, what does it mean that Nike made a gesture? What are their actual politics? But they're getting hung up on, like, well, what was the gesture? Because you could make the claim that, like, oh yeah, like, if you wanted to be, like, hyper woke or whatever, if you want to be, like, a hyper woke racist or something, you could try to make the claim that, see, Nike is trying to placate an audience to get them to buy stuff that doesn't really necessarily benefit their community, and y'all are buying into it regardless. That's what we want you to do. You can make that claim if you chose to, if you inspected Nike's politics, you know. You can inspect the fact that people are like, oh, I'm going to be a lifetime customer now that I saw such and such in a commercial. You could talk crap on that if you really wanted to be overly enlightened. But people are getting stuck on the symbol, and I think that's kind of why we get these weird protests that are like, I protested by buying a cup and having them have to say something they don't want to say. But then when somebody, like, throws a brick through a window of a business that had marginalized them, like, see, but why'd you destroy property? You're like, it's property, like, nobody got hurt. Like, it's bad, it's illegal, but you're missing why I did this kind of thing. I think that might be why people get stuck on symbolism. The symbols. They get stuck on the symbol, not what it means.
No, yeah, I know what you mean.
So I think that might be why some of these people are bad at protests. And I think that might be kind of why that doesn't causate, but it correlates to why people might make these bad decisions. It's that same dumb logic when people are like, well, I can't be a Nazi. All the Nazis got stopped in, like, 1945 or whatever. Like, Nazis don't exist anymore. It's like, okay, buddy, like, fine, whatever. You're just an anti-Semite who believes in nationalism and fascism. Like, okay.
Yeah.
You're not going to call yourself a Nazi because whatever semantics you want to pull. I don't care what the symbol is. I care what it means. And maybe you change it from a swastika to Pepe with the little okay sign on the hands. I know what it means. It means you hate marginalized people. I don't care what it looks like. That doesn't matter to me. That's just a game that you're playing. And I think that's what people get stuck on. Is some people do kind of believe in that stuff. That's my hypothesis anyway.
I think it tracks.
Yeah.
In happier news, is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
It's fall flavor season.
Praise be.
I have some pumpkin. I drank some of that today. That was good. I've been talking to my partner, and we're kind of upset with society. I'm more upset. I'm not gonna pull her into this, but it's just a joke anyway. People are, like, on the pumpkin spice train, which, live your best life. I don't care if you're doing that, but, like, maybe also understand that, like, maple pecan is a fire ass flavor. Maybe try that too. Cause let me tell you about some Dunkin' Donuts. They got some good flavors over there. And, like, yeah, you have your little pumpkin spice latte. Go enjoy your best life. Smile, take your Instagram picture, bond with your significant other. Live your best life. But
man, I just care about the caramel apple spice, man. I love.
Homie, that's what I'm saying. There's so many good flavors.
I don't give a shit about pumpkin spice. I just want, like,
I don't like it in coffee.
some hot apple cider.
Hot apple cider. Yo, the fire orchard. We need the angriest orchard his hot cider. And next time we're at an event, when we make an Angry Orchard, we have to heat it up and see what happens. just really fry our whole life. Just destroy our well-beings. No, but I enjoy the the pumpkin beers and the maple pecan stuff they have at Dunkin' Donuts. Is some nice coffees. They have like maple bacon on like a waffle sandwich.
Ooh.
Yo, try one. Like Dunkin' ain't paying me to say this. They should be paying me. But I had like 4 of them last week, and they're so good. They're fluffy. They taste better than you think they're going to taste, even after your first bite. They're pretty filling. Go try one and enjoy the fall stuff.
You don't have to sell me too hard on it. There's Dunkin' Donuts in my work train station.
Yo, there's one like 2 minutes from my job. Like I can either, where the one is by my house where I go out of my way, but there's one like right before I get to my job. So like, it's a sad addiction, but I guess it's better than like drugs.
Yeah, I feel like probably better than drugs. I had to give one way or the other.
That's true. But I think that's mostly everything. If you're interested, Overwatch World Cup qualifying rounds are again this week. This round has I forget all the teams, but Canada and United States are playing. So a lot of people from the Overwatch League are in there. There's been a lot of trade news going on. A lot of people have been released from teams. The signing for expansion team starts next, I think, Friday, and then non-expansion teams get to go like next month or something. Dragons made an interesting move. They released everybody off their team except for Geguri, Daya, and somebody else. So two Koreans and a Chinese person, which is interesting because I think China's getting 1 or 2 more teams. I think Australia's getting a team. I think Melbourne, Vancouver, Paris, Atlanta. So a lot of expansion teams. It's going to be a big old league. So a lot of people got released. Most of them are probably going to be fine, I'd say. But yeah, lots of people being released and moved around to different roles, new coaches, that kind of stuff. Very exciting. That stuff's all fun to see. So looking forward to what happens with that. But yeah, that's this podcast. Thanks for anybody who stopped in, left us on idle, listened. Still trying to figure out the best way to do this music section. We didn't really take a break, so that's fine. It's an hour. We had music in the background. Probably got a little repetitive. I'll work on some lists. We're always improving. But this will be up on, probably put it on the podcast feed, but it'll also be on the channel. Any stuff before we do the social media business, Steph?
I don't think so. Thanks for tuning in. There's 5 people watching now, which means that more than just me and Dom have the stream open. So thanks to you guys.
Yes. So some people have definitely popped in to say hi. But yeah, we have a lot of stuff down the pipeline. We're going to hit some more character reveals. Again, we might do more than 1 stream per week, but this is what we're starting with. Wednesday's a nice middle day. A lot of stuff happens. We are doing some other pilots. We have a show that is being piloted now. A mutual friend of ours, our friend Claire, is a very beer person. They're into beer. So we're doing a show called Finding 5 O'Clock, which is basically... Ooh. Yeah, it's a solid title. I'll give her credit on that. But you like to pair like a nice wine with a nice meal, right? Maybe a dessert or a nice burger or steak or something. What if we did that but with like some kind of nerdy media or something? So I have this nice pumpkin beer. What's a good thing to watch or play or read while I'm drinking this beer, for instance? So that's kind of what the gist of the show is. I'm an expert to some degree in nerdy stuff. She's an expert in drinking. Or like the notes of it. So there's that coming down the pipeline.
That's like job related. That she's not an alcoholic.
Yes. Sorry.
Or if she is, that's not
I can't
not related to the podcast.
I can't speak to the state of her mental being, but she's an expert in alcohol because of her field, not because of just brute force or anything like that. The way that I'm somewhat of an expert in nerdiness because I just gave half of my life away to nonsense. But that's coming down the pipeline, to look forward to that on the podcast feed. I believe you're working on a pilot that we won't divulge now because that would be shooting ourselves in the foot. But progress is being made on that. That's pretty much everything. The standard character reveal where we do an interview with an interesting person that will be coming down too. Stay tuned for that. If you want to follow the podcast, it's real easy to find. Just search character reveal on your favorite podcast catcher. Whether that be the iTunes store, the Google Play store with podcasts, Stitcher, You can just, anything you use, Podcast Addict, if that's the kind of thing you use, it'll find it. You can go to characterreveal.simplecast.fm to find us there. You can find the link to our Facebook, to our Twitters, the Character Reveal Twitter, and this YouTube page is there because since we're still small, we don't have like a dedicated URL for it, but we'll keep putting that out in the ether. You can find me anywhere on the internet at Brother Dom. That's Twitch. Sometimes here on YouTube, that's Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, wherever you want to find me and I want to be found. You can find this podcast on Twitter, Character Rev, that's 2 R's in the middle. Again, where you can find that link. We're also Character Reveal on Instagram. That's cool. You can see pictures of us. We're going on vacation at the end of next month, so that'll be fun.
So we might actually post some pictures again.
Who knows? Maybe you all will get lucky and see us in our great costumes. Steph, do you have any social media biz you want to impart to the people?
I've got so much biz. I am on Twitter at Captain Steph. I am on Tumblr at the Snow Queer. I am on Instagram at Hello Steph. You can Venmo me if you want, also at Hello Steph. Send me money. For $8,000 a month, you can buy my silence.
That's the donator tier. There it is.
Yeah. Yeah, you can find us on Patreon, Character Reveal, and I think that's about it.
Yeah, I think it is. So thanks to anyone who popped in, listened, had us on in the background, or if you're listening to this on the podcast feed, tell us how it comes in when you're listening to it on your mobile device or on your maybe your computer or laptop. Doesn't matter. However you're listening to this, you probably use the same device to listen to us. But thanks for listening, and until next time, see you later.
Bye.